Okay. Um, Ready, Kevin? Shall we go? So,
Brilliant.
hi everyone and welcome. So, I'm Charlotte Curry, if you don't know me already in person. I'm Global Head of Growth at Sowden Solutions, and I lead customer success and new business. So, my team and I are having conversations daily with marketing operation leaders and marketing teams, and we often see the same challenges repeat across platforms, industries, or regions. So that's why we created the MOPs Exchange. This is a very informal space for peer-to-peer conversations where marketing operation leaders or MarTech users and those driving change can share real use cases, challenges, discuss what's worked, what hasn't worked, share best practices. And from Sojan's point of view, we just want to simply help facilitate the discussions. So today's session isn't just about what Kevin and Citeline have done, it's about helping everyone on the call think through how these kinds of solutions might apply to your own challenges. So as you listen, we'd very much like you to think about your own email and data complexity, the personalization efforts that you're working on, and any platform limitations. Then feel free to drop any questions or thoughts into the chat as we go, and open it up for discussions later in the session. And we'll also, when relevant, try and pick out some. So I think that's all to begin with. I'm really pleased now to be joined by Kevin Sowden, who's the Marketing Operations Director at Citeline and Evaluate. And Kevin inherited a very complex setup, multiple brands, overlapping systems, large scale email volumes that were needed, and led a very slick transformation, simplifying operations and scaling personalization. And it's brilliant that you're on this call, Kevin. So thank you. And over to you to set the scene and discuss your use case and challenges that arose during that time.
Oh, thank you very much, Charlotte. Lovely introduction. Yeah, I'm very excited to be asked to take part. Um, Never really been this size of a webinar, so I'm hoping this is more of a meeting and it's going to be a bit more of an exchange, as I've
Yeah.
run thousands of webinars, but never actually been the one that speaks on it before. So it's exciting. So just to explain a little bit about the situation I found myself in a couple of years ago when I joined Citeline. It was being divested from a previous company, Informa. And so all of the systems that Citeline relied upon were being replicated, and Citeline got bought by Norstella and brought into the fold. So we had to replicate the Eloqua instance from Informa in a whole new instance. But also there were lots of different marketing tools taking place at the same time. Some MailChimps, Marketo, we had a Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and we had Eloqua. And we were hoping to try and reduce the estate as much as possible. And that meant that we started asking some difficult questions of what Eloqua could possibly do for us. So although the actual marketing migration was quite a large one for the numbers of emails and the number of campaigns and contacts we also had a product team that actually delivered emails. That was the product. So people actually pay to receive these emails because we have a publication website, like a news website on pharmaceutical news. There are 6 different publications, and that news is on the website, but it's also delivered via email. And that was what using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So it used some highly personalized emails that were customized based on what it was that people were interested in. And they wanted to know, can we get rid of the Salesforce Marketing Cloud license and use Eloqua to do it? The major drawback that we had was that Eloqua didn't have an equivalent of AMP script, which is something Salesforce Marketing Cloud has, which allows you to kind of program, have more programmatic emails that can be more reactive. But we came to Sowden. They were the solution integrator for actually integration, and they suggested working with instant marketing. Instant marketing provides an ability to have what I would call like a backdoor in Eloqua. It allows you to use JS scripting to connect to any API, do clever things within the Eloqua system, and anything that Eloqua can't do, this company seems to be able to do it, while supported by Sowden to create all the requirements and all the testing, etc. So that was amazing. The emails were incredibly complex that we had to try and produce. They were hyper personalized, I would say. It's a bit of a buzz term. Don't really like buzz terms, but the idea is that we had to be able to offer the ability for someone to go on the website, run a search for a news article, and then save that search, and then deliver them an email of all of the articles of that search string every day. Also create another email for all of the latest articles. And then people could also select what topics they were interested in, and they could get another email based on topics. So each email had to be dynamically generated based on the person's preferences, which emails they wanted, which emails they paid for, which was another variable, and then these search strings. It isn't something I thought Eloqua could necessarily do, but we were delighted that with instant marketing, they allowed us to have this kind of backdoor. And it meant that we could move away from Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It meant that we could lose the dependency on a coder who seemed to be the only person that knew how to do this AMP script, or how it had been set up. It was quite difficult to work out how it was set up. And so we had to kind of go back to the drawing boards and redesign it from scratch. One of the drawbacks with being divested from a company is you had kind of limited access to the information, and only for a certain time period. So we really did have to go back to the drawing board. One of the benefits of using kind of the Eloqua setup, and some of the suggestions from Sojourn, was to try and look at a kind of a low code or no code approach. So a lot of the variables needed, or the steps needed to send out these emails automatically on a daily basis, were designed in the program or campaign canvas so that somebody like me or somebody else could go in and see if there was a problem. They may be able to fix it, and only if it was particularly complex, actually in the scripting within instant marketing, would we have to reach out for support from Sojourn or from instant marketing, which they're on hand, and they've been very, very helpful when things have gone a bit wrong. So as you can see on the screen on the left is an example of one of the emails. It looks like a standard email, but it has news articles that are published that day or the day before. It's all about speed and publishing. One of the big differences for this and for me was that it was editorial teams rather than marketeers. They are news stories that need to go out very quickly, but also it's people who are paying to receive emails. And I'd never experienced someone paying for an email before. Usually in marketing, we send them out and hope people don't complain about us. So it was a very different way of approaching things. Also, people were able to subscribe to up to, I think, maybe 16 emails a day, which is completely different when it comes to IP warming. So usually in IP warming, you're trying to warm an IP address up so that people could receive an email maybe once a week at max. But this was up to 16 emails to the same address on a particular day. So we had to pay very close attention to that. Also, deliverability is incredibly important for marketing, but for someone who actually pays for an email, they have to get it, otherwise they complain. And so looking at those deliverability metrics, we looked into a tool, Everest or Validity, and we actually took part in, we purchased a certification. And what their certification did was it allowed us to kind of investigate how we brought customers on, provided them with opting in and opting out of everything, ensured all of our privacy and our compliance systems were not just compliant and legal, but actually best practice. And when we had jumped through all of these different hoops, we got this certification, which I have to say I was a little bit questionable about whether it was a bit of a sales pitch. But what we saw happen was our bounce rates, our soft bounce rates, went from about 15% down to 5%, just like that. Which was brilliant. So that meant that a lot more of the emails that people were paying to receive actually did arrive, and that was exactly what we were looking for. On the right-hand side of the screen there, you can see a little picture of one of the campaigns. It looks like a big spider's web. And what we have built in there is a lot of redundancy. So, as with any API connection, there are errors that take place. If we've got a lot of emails, we've got thousands and thousands of people running through this campaign. That's thousands of API calls, email being generated one at a time for each person. Errors happen. And so we had to build in a lot of redundancy. And we were able to do that in Eloqua in a kind of a graphical way with this kind of low code approach, which means like I can go in and I can see easily if there's an issue, something that I can fix. Yeah, I think Vignesh on the call actually built this, and it looks beautiful if I don't say much so myself. And it was really, yeah, really helpful support from the Sowden team. Um, so yeah, we created these emails. We have been deploying them for nearly 2 years now. We also migrated to a completely new system, a new editorial system. And so everything had to be rebuilt again, which was fun, but we had done it once, and this time we knew how to do it. So with the support of Sojourn and Instant Marketing, they were able to make a few updates, but completely change the system from a site core system, which is a CMS system, to an editorial publishing system called ArcXP, which is a very different kettle of fish. So yeah, I think some of the lessons that I learned were that scoping out tasks like this is incredibly important. It was difficult in the first instance, as I said, because we were divesting from a company, and we had some kind of illegible scripts to try and de-engineer and then re-engineer. And we spent quite a lot of time doing that, and then realized that actually we just needed to start from scratch. But it was from that kind of good groundwork and that basis that we were able to then work out exactly what it is that we needed it to do, and then work with Sam through kind of iterative approach to launching and getting it tested, as everything had to be switched over in a very short period of time. The publication website was down for maybe 3 days, and the emails were down maybe for 4 or 5, but we needed them to switch back on again with as little downtime for our customers as possible. And we wanted to make it look as if nothing had really happened. So the emails needed to look very similar. The domains changed a little bit, but otherwise it was supposed to be as seamless as possible. And I think we achieved that, which was a testament to the entire team that put the work into this one.
Yeah. Definitely being on the other side, it was great to see. Obviously, regardless of what marketing automation platform, the fact that you were able to personalize the emails to such the number of content, different articles that they can get within the emails is up to 20. There's 1.6 million emails. There's a lot of complexity. Um, but as you said, like some of the learnings that were taken were simplicity and stepping back to see what could be done. Did you find bringing in relevant stakeholders like the product team, you were very good at communicating and managing change and bringing in the developers, the product team, various team members from Sowden and Instant Marketing?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it was a bit of a learning curve to understand what a news website does. Publications, editorial, magazine production, it's a very different world to the world that I was used to. So they had different set of requirements that I couldn't necessarily just guess. Uh, Usually in a marketing automation requests, I can usually fill in the requirements myself from my own experience. But the idea is that things had to be so time based, and you had so many editors that were producing journal new news articles that everything had to be designed for somebody who had never used a marketing automation platform. So yes, that was definitely one side, and then we needed to take into account that actually Eloqua was a little bit too complicated for some of them to use. So we investigated using a new system from Instant Marketing called Instant Email, which is kind of an idiot's system to create an email. It's amazing. It's you can drag and drop what interface what you would like the email to look like. You can put in a URL of the website and it will scrape the page and populate the email. And it's designed to have the email produced very quickly with minimal issues, minimal errors. It makes it very, very difficult to make an error. So we implemented that so that if well, first of all, because we wanted to create emails on a weekly basis that were curated, as in the editors wanted to have a little bit more control over the experience that they were giving. And so they were using this instant email system, but also it's used as a backup in case anything fails. And there have been some failures over the last couple of years, but I think I can count them on two hands. And that means that you can use the tool within a very short space of time. You can populate the email and get it signed off and out the door as quickly as possible because any downtime is just out of the question when it comes to editorial. The name of the product was called Instant Email.
Yeah, and actually that led to you measured, we were measuring everything that was being done. That led to the 50% time saving for that editorial team here that you can see on the slide. I
That's
think
up.
the deliverability as well, that was 40% improved the audience reach as well as reduced again by taking the soft bounce from 20% down to 5%. You mentioned how key it was that we had to get these emails into the inboxes. Like you say, people have paid. Um, so they want to see an email and there's a high stakes within Citeline and Evaluate if they do not see these emails. Well,
That's
the
abs
Citeline.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think it took a little bit of time for me to kind of develop two hats, one a marketing hat and a product delivery hat, and how you have to be able to kind of look at things from a different angle. I think previously emails were being suppressed if they soft bounced. In the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So when we took it over, there was a large number of customers who weren't receiving their email because they had been excluded because they'd soft bounced a few times, which may be a good practice in marketing, but it's not a good practice in this instance. So we needed to get rid of that, and so everything needs to be looked through a slightly different lens. These people pay. It's time based. It's the deliverability is incredibly important, and then you can layer on the marketing stats to try and improve the customer experience, and then try and work out if people are churning and all sorts of things. So it's very different to the marketing side, which of course we migrated at exactly the same time. So and then we had a couple of other brands come onto the system as well, and the our current system is a multi-brand system with multiple IPs. I think we have 6 IPs with different preference centers. And that was the aim. We wanted like one Salesforce, and we wanted one Eloqua, and we wanted to try and keep it simple from that perspective. And I think it has actually made it simple from perspectives like compliance. We have one compliance system that manages it all. And there's the possibility to expand if we wish. If there are more companies being added into the mix, then we can expand multi-brand, add more IPs, add more preferences.
Yeah.
I just loving the concept of people paying to receive multiple emails a day. I mean, that loads just
The time.
I'd love to know that secret.
Um, yeah, I think if people wanting to stay up to date with the latest pharmaceutical news from all sorts of different perspectives. So we have a chemist and druggist team, which is a team that delivers. They are responsible for all of the products that you find in a chemist. And so those people, the pharmacists, like to know what the latest things are that they can stock in their shop to sell. And so yeah, they like to receive an email every day with that on. And then the pharmaceutical news is like the latest developments, the drug and any of the latest news that's impacting the decisions across the world that could be impacting people. So yeah, they pay quite a bit of money to get access to this so that they know it first,
Yeah.
because that impacts exactly all the decisions that they're going to make in their jobs and their lives. So I can get it. I mean, it doesn't really make an awful lot of sense to me, but
So when you said a minute ago that it was actually down for, was it like 3 or 4 days that people had stopped receiving? How did you manage that? Because that's like quite a quick turnaround to move over what was it like 1.6 million different emails, Charlotte, you said a minute ago? That's
yeah,
Sure.
It was a massive undertaking. I think we had 35 systems all going live over the course of a week. And this was just one of them at the end of the 35. So we had, you know, every single system that a company uses was being recreated. And this was, yeah, the last bastion after the CRM was set up, then Eloqua was switched on, and then the products were switched on. So it was a massive undertaking from a scheme from the IT department, and they had a lot of support from a project management perspective. I learned an awful lot about that and the kind of the hypercare phase afterwards.
Yeah.
So we were on calls every single day, identifying and fixing issues. It's not like it happened without issue, but it all went live when it was supposed to. Which was incredible. And yeah, we resolved the issues. I think there were up to 2 hypercare calls a day, just identifying the issues, triaging them, identifying when they were going to be fixed, working out how, and then updating up to senior leadership anything that was kind of a high priority issue. But the team of editors are very passionate about what they do, and so any issues that do come up from that perspective it's a lot, seems to be a lot larger an issue than if a marketing email is delayed by a day, for example.
Yeah.
It's very different kettle of fish.
I mean,
It was really good to see sort of like risk mitigation planning,
Right.
to preempt scenarios that potentially could arise. I guess with any personalization, you always need to make sure, the hardest thing is the data. And it's like if the data is not going to be pulled in correctly, what is,
Yeah.
is that generic email going to look like if that's the right setup? But there was different sort of scenarios.
Yeah, that is really tough, Charlotte. You're absolutely right. We have to rely on the data for this hyper personalization, and also it's very difficult to test um, because these are real people that are accessing a system, and they are putting certain keywords in and saving them, and then we are generating an email dynamically on a daily basis for that person. We can't necessarily see exactly what they got sent. Um, so it's hard to monitor that. So you do need to do a lot of testing with fake email addresses and try and recreate those real life scenarios. And you can only do so much. And so there were a lot of fingers crossed when we launched. But one of the upsides of it being customers is they're quite happy to complain if something's going wrong. So at least we did get that feedback loop quite quickly, that they were receiving something they shouldn't, or that they didn't ask for, or that it wasn't in the right format, for example. But yeah, that's been always been the biggest concern with any of this. We haven't had the ability like you do in Eloqua when you have dynamic content pieces to be able to put someone's email address and see what they're going to receive. It just doesn't work like that. It's dynamically generated when the email is being sent out. And so we don't kind of have that ability.
Kevin, we've had a couple of questions in around the use of validity and the reducement of the soft bounce. Would you be able to just like touch on how they enable to do that? I know, Marie, you've
Yeah.
asked, was it some certification or,
It was, yes. It's a certification that they offer. And there are quite a few prerequisites. Well, you have to tick a lot of boxes and fill in. It took a few months to complete. They call it their certification, and it's only available if you don't purchase data for the IP address. So it has to be people that opt in to receive the marketing, and it has to be very clear that they're opting in, and they have to be able to opt out. You have to set up lots of feedback loops from all the major email providers like Microsoft and Yahoo and various different ones, so that you can see complaints coming in. And in all honesty, I was impressed with the process for the certification, but I didn't invest an awful lot emotionally in the response because I didn't believe it was possible to do something like that. But Validity and Everest are the market leaders, I believe, in this area. And whatever it is that they are able to provide to internet service providers across the world as far as this certification is concerned, we have seen the results that it has actually worked for us. And even though I hadn't invested in it emotionally, I really did like the process in becoming certified because we did it across the board, not just for this product. We did it for all of our marketing as well. So we made sure that all of our preference centers were linked, that people had a clear understanding of who the emails were coming from, and we ticked every single box. So I think somebody's asked about DMARC certification. Yeah, every single certificate we needed, and we needed to make sure that it was always there. That was some of the more basic hoops we had to jump through. I think the hardest hoops we had to jump through were the feedback loops, where you have to add certain IDs to your MX records so that you can prove that you are who you are, and then you can get Microsoft. You can tell Microsoft that you own that IP, and then they can start sending you information on any complaints that they get, and you suddenly get visibility into the Microsoft estate, and every single complaint and every spam thing comes through into the validity tool. So it's kind of doing that for all of the different providers. And yeah, I think what I came away from it with was that it pulled our socks up from a marketing perspective. It taught me quite a lot about best practices, and quite a few things that, despite the fact I've been working in this area for quite a long time, I didn't really know an awful lot about some of these really in-depth deliverability things. So it was very helpful from that perspective, and I've been very impressed with the results of reducing that soft bounce down to 5%. I was kind of flabbergasted when we got that. I know what Charlotte, when we chatted, I
Well,
was
and I
like,
guess
is this
the key thing,
right?
Kevin, is it's not something you do once. We're monitoring deliverability.
That's right. That's right. And the tool does allow for that. Absolutely. We use the inbox placement tool, which is a separate one, which is a fascinating tool and allows you to kind of get a preview of whether your email is getting into people's inboxes, but also where it's arriving. And Validity has gone away and purchased email addresses in all the major providers and all the major countries and all sorts of things. So you send your email to like these 300 or 500 email addresses, and then the tool lets you know how many of them actually got to the inbox, and then it can give you an idea as to whether it got through or not. As that's always kind of the black box. You send it out, you might get a bounce, you might not get a bounce, but it might have bounced. You never really know exactly what's happened. So it is, yeah, it's pretty cool from that perspective too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. Can I just ask? I mean, you've obviously spent a lot of time getting this all up and running. It looks absolutely fantastic. But what's next for Citeline? I mean, are you looking at any plans to adopt AI? I know that's a huge buzzword at the moment with a lot of companies.
Yeah.
Is that on your plan?
Uh, it absolutely has to be. Yes, it is. Yes, it is a buzzword. I think we've recently been given a trial of Eloqua's advanced intelligence, which has some AI functionality, some of which we've seen that it could be useful for certain stakeholders. But as I said, we've got quite a few different teams in our Eloqua instance, and all of their needs are slightly different. So things like a subject line or a optimization tool or a content creating AI may be useful for some people if they're the ones that are in Eloqua and they're creating the subject lines and the emails. But if your emails come from a content team who deliver it to the person building in Eloqua, that's completely useless because it's the content team that manage the content. So we have different teams that have different issues and different use cases. So we need to find those use cases that AI could actually help us with, and then start working on them. So initially, we are looking at data and segmentation. So some of the lowest hanging fruit that we've identified is things like categorizing our contacts. So we have quite an advanced taxonomy where we look at industry roles and functions, and then we deduce what their persona might be. But that relies on somebody selecting from a list when they fill in a form. We want to try and use, the company domain to get AI to tell us what the company does, what the industry is, and use the job title to work out what their function is and what their role is, and be a bit more intelligent at that. So we have a large database that is unprofiled. Some of it is profiled, but for the people that are missing those key identifiers. We hope to be able to use AI, and we have built a proof of concept with the help of Instant Marketing again, which will allow us to look at that domain name and try and get more information on it. So the next thing will be to take a look at job titles, and kind of expand from there. The key reason for that is, we want to be able to target our messaging in a much better way. We don't want to be sending emails to people that aren't interested in them. And so that's kind of the first area we're looking at. Another area we're looking at is quality assurance. So some of our emails have sometimes we get high demand with a very short time span to deliver something. I think that's happened at every company I've ever worked at. And unfortunately, when that happens, the people in the system are the end of the road. They're the ones that ever get squeezed. And if you're squeezed too much, you can make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. How can we introduce some quality assurance at that point? Are we able to use AI to do some of these QA checks? It's very, very difficult to QA your own stuff. That's just a fact. So if AI can go and make sure, right, that email group's correct and that person's, and then check the tone of voice or check whatever it is and do it quickly, then that's only a good thing. So that would be incredibly beneficial, and I think that's probably the next use case we're going to be looking at. I think we're going to leave kind of content creation to the content creation team, but we'll be working and seeing whether third party tools, whether Eloqua offers it, for other things. But yeah, that's about where we are right now. I think what I've been along to Anticon recently, and it set my mind buzzing as it always does. And in an ideal world, we'd have all of our data in the same place across all of our companies, and we'd be able to query that data to look at all of the activity with the CSM team, with the account management team, with all of our marketing, and identify what the next best action for marketing would be for our CSM team, for our sales team, and use that. But I think that's a bit of a longer term goal.
Yeah, no, John, thanks for putting this on here, John. So as of the 12th of June, as we all know, that the AI features and functions inside of Eloqua are now no charge, or no additional charge, should I say. And if you do want to get them installed on your own Eloqua instance, then it is literally a case of just filing a service request, and they can all be turned on. That's a bit of a brave move from Oracle.
I think it was very needed. I think it was very needed. Yes. They need to stay competitive in the market, and they're competing with the likes of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Marketo, and HubSpot, and the others are putting a lot of marketing into their AI features, at least whether the functionality matches up. I believe some of them do. So I think it was a good move. A good move to make it open and accessible for everyone.
I agree. I mean,
because
removing the cost barrier, you're literally forcing the conversation back to value realization. I mean, which AI features are actually making marketers faster, smarter, and more efficient? I just think, yeah, it's a great move by Oracle. Little late to the party. Sorry for anybody from Oracle who's on, but the fact that you've now pushed this free, it's a game changer. It really is. The paywall has come down on AI.
That's right. And then, and absolutely, as you say, it's all down to us to use it and work out whether it's beneficial or not. At least it gets us involved in it, gets our toes wet in the, and we can start seeing whether things are just sales ploys or whether they're actually beneficial or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Marie's just put on quite a valid point there as well about checking with your compliance departments before using.
Yeah.
You had an entire committee created for the approval, Marie. Is that right?
Well, I guess now there are committees.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
we did with our compliance department. We had to show them exactly what was being used, how it would be used, samples of the content and things like that. So nobody has actually used it yet, though. So I'm like, and I think to Kevin's point, it's because we have editorial creating a lot of our emails, and brand has to be on point. So they're very particular with the emails that we're sending out. So nobody's really used it in that fashion. They're going to Chat GPT instead for, some sort of summary if they need it shortened or something like that. They're not using Eloqua. So
Yeah, Maria, you're not alone. I think I was at the Eloqua Product Council and there was quite a few people that had got the AI add-on at that point, but they had actually switched off the Gen AI part because their IT security had at least stalled it or needed it to go through other approval. So I believe you can switch on certain elements of it and switch off other bits that may send some data externally.
Just to say, we can open up for questions. I can see another question in the chat, but yeah, we can open up the lines. This is just informal discussion. So if anyone wants to ask a direct question, please feel free to ask away.
I know you've asked the question in the chat. What was the reason behind you wanted to change from Salesforce to Oracle, Kevin?
Simply because we were already using Eloqua previously. We were migrating marketing to Eloqua, and that was a given. The question was whether we were going to move Salesforce Marketing Cloud to Salesforce Marketing Cloud and pay for that license, or whether we were going to combine the two. I think I had already been employed and I had Eloqua experience, possibly. I know Salesforce Marketing Cloud is up there, something that I would love to get my hands on at some point and learn. But yeah, that there was not an analysis done based on whether we would move marketing to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It was very much, are we able to save some cash here and take advantage of the current platform that we'd already started the migration. So it was kind of I guess it was a timing thing, to be honest. Somebody else has also mentioned contact fatigue analysis. I would love to make the most of contact fatigue analysis, but unfortunately, because we've multi-brand, the IP addresses are independent. We were unable to filter the fatigue analysis by the brand. So something that we have requested. We can see it across the entire platform, which is a benefit. But what we really want to see was how over emailed are these contacts by this IP address, by this IP address, by this IP address. That would be amazing.
And as of now, I mean, you've built out some of your own fatigue steps, haven't you?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we've
very effective.
Yeah, we've had some we've been trying to improve engagement, and one of the areas to look at was fatigue for sure. It was our expectation that if we reduce the number of emails that people got, that we would increase engagement. So we implemented some fatigue filters, which were very custom, using kind of external activities and various different filters based on if somebody's engaged or not engaged. Kind of recreated the AI fatigue analysis, if I'm totally honest, at the bare bones, but just that it's for a single brand within the same platform. So and it's got a few custom requirements that we wanted with regards to being able to prioritize one campaign over another campaign, for example. And more recently, we've been playing around with send time optimization. I like it. I like the idea. I took a course with Oracle on it, and they said it was going to improve engagement by 20%, which is a fantastic number. Our first test, we haven't seen that, but we're going to run some more tests because I'd love it to be great. But I haven't seen that yet. But if anybody else has any stats on any of this, that would be feedback to Sojourn. I'd love to hear it.
What would you say was the biggest challenge with all of this that you underestimated?
I think, well, I've said it. I've already said it, and that would be the IP warming for trying to send someone up to 16 emails a day. Yeah, it's normal IP warming is a difficult task in itself.
Yeah.
And this was a very different kettle of fish, and I don't think I had fully grasped that when we'd started it. So that was something that it wasn't. I knew how many emails could go out. That was the problem. I knew how many emails could go out. I just didn't realize that someone could possibly want them all. that was the thing I underestimated. And yeah.
Kevin, John again's come in with another question. Could you speak to change management across the organization, and how do you have any recommendations or suggestions?
Yeah, possibly. I would say that since joining Norstella or Citeline, yeah, this company is definitely in a state of hyper change. We pivot and make changes very quickly. I know that in pretty much every interview I've ever had, they've always asked, "Oh, how do you deal with change?" And I've always said, "Oh, yeah, really well." But until now, I didn't really know what it meant. So now I do have an appreciation of being able to dynamically change your roadmap and your expectations and your processes and your procedures. And I think the people that work within the organization were all on board with that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a place that somebody would be able to survive. That doesn't mean that everybody accepts it at the same level. And so yeah, as things flux, pivot, and change, I think it's always down to communication. Listening and ensuring that people are brought along, consulted and brought along for the ride, and just being clear and transparent, that changes may happen even though we've already just trained you on something. That is, we do work within a kind of a fail fast mentality. We want to give something a try, ensure that we have the ability to report upon whatever it is that we're trying. And if it doesn't work, then change, then try something different. And in many cases that works well, and in some cases that doesn't work quite so well. But I think it's trying to work out where the difference is, whether what we can fail on, we really can't. And long-term decisions about platforms, for example, or large investments in things such as like this email solution, it's a big investment, and so it needs to be something that we implement and it lasts. And that's where the planning comes in, and ensuring that all of the stakeholders are brought to the table at the same time.
I think you definitely brought them in early and got early alignment. The product, the data team, the marketing team, everyone came in early. And from my side, there was really open communication at all levels. And then showcasing, you kept showcasing what was working, where we'd got quick wins. So from my perspective, I think that worked really well to help manage the change as well. Um, Opening it up for anyone that's, resonates with Kevin's use case and had similar challenges, who wants to discuss something that they're working on, or that they've done. We can certainly add a bit more about similar use cases, but we'd love to hear from some members here, or pop in the group.
Okay, but don't all shout at once.
And that's exactly why this is an informal setting, so we all get
Yeah, absolutely. I think
more
I
comfortable
has
with.
any got any hyper personalization issues? I know John's put his hand up.
Oh, John, hi. Oh, yeah, John, actually, do you need help unmuting?
Nope. He's in.
No, Kevin, just a quick question about implementation. And look, I love Sojourn. I have huge faith and confidence in them, and total transparency. You hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay. Total transparency. I work for Oracle. I'm in part of the sales team. But I have a customer that's contemplating purchasing Eloqua, and we're talking through the implementation. Um, and was there any gotchas, or were there any things about implementation that maybe you didn't consider? Thinking back through the whole process, maybe things that you wanted. Again, I have full faith in Sojourn that they have a process that is lined out, but I'm just curious if there's anything that was missed potentially, or maybe things that you wish had happened. Um, and I don't know if you're global or just in the US. And so like when it comes to mind is, did they have a project manager that was US based? And if you were global, was there a counterpart project manager global that helped out? Those type of things.
Um, I don't believe we got that kind of support from Oracle when we first implemented. Sojourn were there to do the implementation for us. And the major pain points that I think we had along the way are usually the branding and deliverability workbook. I have done that many times now, and every single time it seems to turn into something that's a lot more complicated than it should be. And we experienced it quadruple fold because we were bringing 4 IP addresses on at the same time, and that was more difficult. It took longer. We got a lot of pushback from Oracle, which was strange because we wanted to create IP addresses, and we were being told that we couldn't because they didn't like the way that we were creating them, and we were saying, well, we're the customer, so
Yeah, understood.
you make you make you
Multiple
make it
brands.
you make it how we want it. Thank you very much.
Right.
And that there was a bit of a tug of war going on, which we won in the end, but it took a long time. And usually I count quite a long time for the branding and deliverability workbook, but I don't know if Vignesh can actually remember how long it took, but I think maybe it was 3 months. It was a long old road for something that must be done by Oracle every day of the week.
Right, agreed. I think the multiple product situation with deliverability is one of those key considerations that has to be done carefully and thoughtfully, and with the right
Yes.
roadmap. To your point about IP warming on the different IPs for the around the different brands, yeah, you don't want to mess that up. So
No, and there's a lot of bits to get wrong, a lot of bits to get right, in the development and creation of these. So yes, I appreciate that.
right, and to Charlotte's point earlier about deliverability being a constant thing, right? Constant monitoring, the spam traps, and keeping an eye on that is critical, and can't set it and forget it. But anyway, appreciate your
Yeah,
openness.
you're right with that point, John. We do have some different difficulties there as with the solution that I've been talking about, where we have customers that buy something. We can't always tell when the customer has left the company. So that means that it appears in our system that they're still there because they use single sign-on to log in. But their address could easily become a spam trap if we don't develop proper hygiene for our lists, not only for marketing, which is standard practices, but also for our customer lists, and to avoid that particular problem that you identified.
Agreed. Thank you for your openness, Kevin.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. There's a question in the chat from Jacob touching back on the validity certification. He was just asking
Yeah.
whether or not that's going to be better prior to IP warming or not, or does it make a difference?
But I think it would have been nice, yes, but the certification took. Well, first of all, we didn't know about it at that point, and it took some time to go through the certification that I don't think we would have had. Whether we could have done before IP warming, I don't. I'm just trying to rack my brains. We do need to send them examples of what you're going to be sending out or what
Yeah,
you
I
are
think they
sending
need to
out.
see volume. I think they
They
have to see
seem to see
volume
volume
on
as
the
well.
IP or domain. And so if you are using like the same domain already and just switching IPs, I think they could have some history there. But if you're
Mm.
starting fresh with new domains and new IPs, there's no sender history for them to initially pull from. I think you need like 30 days of some history for that to like kick off the certification as well, and for some of the like validation that they're doing.
Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, that sounds right.
I was more thinking of the feedback loops that you set up with Microsoft, Yahoo,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the rest of it. If if you have that, these IPs notified to those big vendors that are yours as part of the certification process, then that IP warming part will be less painful.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jacob. I totally agree with you. I think it would be great practice to set that up as soon as possible. But in all honesty, I didn't know about it at that point. It was only by going through the certification that I understood that the depth that was available, the amount of feedback that you could get, yeah, every system does it slightly differently. But yeah, there is that ability to get this information, which I just didn't know about myself.
Cool. Just like keeping an eye on time. We've probably got time for one more question. if anyone wants to bring it to the table about your own personalization and what you're working on.
But one more thing I can bring up with the validity tool. They have a service as well that you can provide a list of contacts, and prior to your sending, you can scrutinize them. So are these valid email addresses, most likely to bounce, etc. So there's a service that they offer too, apart from next to the certification process.
Absolutely right, Jacob. Yeah, that's something we take advantage of when we're doing our data cleansing. An opportunity if we are maybe doing a re-engagement campaign where people haven't been engaged with for a while, and you don't necessarily want to email a list of people that haven't actually been emailed for a while. We pass it through the validity checker. There is a limited, you pay by how many checks you can have a year. So I have to be slightly reserved with how often I use it, otherwise we'll run out. But there are some really good use cases to get that, and it's quite good at indicating some mailboxes that are unavailable or invalid. There are usually quite a large number that come back unknown, and that's not enormously helpful, but there it is helpful. It's not 100% reliable because of that unknown element, but yeah, it is beneficial.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin, and thanks to everyone that joined today. So we hope this session was useful. These conversations are meant to be real, relevant, and just as part of everyday informal. The idea of this exchange is that we're building up your network and that you can all join our LinkedIn group and share a bit more about what you're working on. As I said, best practices, what's working well, what's not, and any challenges that might arise and solutions that people are working on. And we've got on the screen here, we've got this MOPs exchange, which will be emailing about the next session. And we also have our podcast, our MOPs brief, and also we run lots of blogs, but very much try and get into that LinkedIn group so you can start interacting and networking and speak directly to each other and spread the word. And we'd love to hear from you. Please get in touch if you want to come on and share your experiences and be part of these sessions, these very informal, so we can have voices and create bigger community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you
great
very
rest
much
of the
indeed.
day.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Charlotte.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.